Hey everyone, and welcome to today's deep dive. We're going to be taking a trip through time today,
Yeah.
exploring the science and the pop culture and all the paradoxes
Right, all head-scratching stuff.
that make time travel such a fascinating topic. So buckle up,
It's going to be a wild ride.
because things are about to get really
Mind-bending.
mind-bending. So,
You know, what's interesting to me is that time travel, it's not just a sci-fi thing.
right.
It actually has some roots in some pretty serious physics.
Okay, so let's start with the basics then. Einstein's theory of relativity.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's like a cornerstone of modern physics,
It is.
but it can be a little tough to wrap your head around.
Yeah, relativity, it basically tells us that time isn't this absolute unchanging thing.
Right.
It's relative to the observer's frame of reference.
So like time is more fluid than a rigid ticking clock.
Exactly. It's more like a river than a rigid ruler.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Yeah. So think about those astronauts up on the International Space Station. They're orbiting the Earth at super high speeds.
Yeah.
And because of that, they actually experience time a tiny bit slower than we do down here on Earth.
So time dilation is a real thing.
It's a real thing.
It's not just some sci-fi plot device.
It's been measured. We've proven it
Wow.
with atomic clocks. Super precise.
Okay, so that's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But experiencing time differently is one thing.
Right.
What about actually traveling through time? Like hopping into a time machine
Yeah.
and blasting off to see the dinosaurs? I mean, is that even theoretically possible?
Well, our current understanding of physics
Yeah.
doesn't completely rule it out.
Okay.
But there are some major caveats, especially when it comes to traveling to the past.
I bet you're talking about paradoxes.
Paradoxes, exactly.
Yeah.
The things that make your brain do backflips.
Yes. The grandfather paradox.
Oh, yeah, the classic.
What happens if you go back in time
Right,
and you stop your grandparents from ever meeting?
right. What happens to you? Then you wouldn't exist.
It's a total contradiction.
Yeah, it creates a logical inconsistency
Right.
that just throws our whole understanding of cause and effect out the window.
Okay, well, what about that other one? The Bootstrap Paradox.
Oh, yeah.
The one with Shakespeare.
Ah, yes. Imagine Shakespeare going to the future,
Right.
finding a collection of his plays, copying them down,
Yeah.
going back to his own time,
Yeah.
and then publishing them as his own work.
So who actually wrote the plays then?
Exactly. Where did they originate?
Right.
That's so weird. Yeah, the Bootstrap Paradox, it really messes with the idea of origin.
Okay, so messing with the past seems like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
But what about the future?
The future's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Actually, traveling to the future is already happening.
Wait, really?
Yeah, on a very small scale.
Okay.
Remember those astronauts on the space station?
Yeah.
They're already fractions of a second younger than they would be if they stayed on Earth.
So that's time travel.
In a way, yeah.
So the key is just going really, really fast.
But in theory, yes. But to travel any significant distance into the future, we'd need technology that's way beyond anything we have today.
So no popping into the future to grab next week's winning lottery numbers.
Not yet, at least.
Okay, well, what about those wormholes I've heard about? Those like cosmic shortcuts through space-time.
Ah, wormholes. Those are fascinating.
Yeah.
Essentially, tunnels through space-time that could connect distant points in space-ND time.
So like a cosmic shortcut.
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
Could we use them to travel to the past or the future?
Theoretically, maybe. But we're talking about a level of physics
Yeah.
that's still largely hypothetical.
Okay.
We haven't even observed a wormhole directly.
So they're kind of like that elusive theory of everything that physicists are always searching for.
Yeah, it's a tantalizing mystery.
It keeps us all guessing.
Definitely keeps those science fiction writers busy.
And speaking of science fiction,
Yeah.
time travel is a pretty popular theme in movies and books.
It is.
Why do you think we're so drawn to those stories?
Well, I think part of it is just our natural curiosity.
Right.
We want to know what the future holds,
Right.
what things were like in the past.
Like peeking behind the curtain of time.
Exactly. But it also goes deeper than that.
Okay.
Time travel stories let us explore these big questions about free will, destiny,
Right.
the consequences of our actions.
Like looking in a mirror and seeing all the what-ifs play out.
Yeah, and thinking about how our past shapes our present,
Right.
how our present actions might ripple through time and affect the future.
It's a powerful concept.
It is.
And let's be real, some of those time travel movies are just plain fun.
Oh, absolutely.
Pure entertainment.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
Relativity paradoxes, wormholes,
Yeah, we've been all over the place.
even touched on the pop culture side of
We've
things.
just scratched the surface.
But before we go any further,
Okay.
I think it's time to shift gears a little bit
Yeah.
and explore the philosophical side of time travel.
Now we're getting to the good stuff.
I know, right?
We're going beyond the science and into the realm of really big questions about reality, consciousness, the nature of time itself.
This is going to be interesting.
Buckle up.
Okay. So we've talked about the science of time travel, the relativity, the wormholes, the paradoxes, but now I'm kind of curious about the philosophy of it all. What kind of questions does time travel make us ask about ourselves and the universe?
Well, that's what I find so fascinating about time travel. It forces us to confront these really big fundamental questions about reality, consciousness, even free will.
It's not just about building a time machine then. It's about what time itself actually is.
Exactly. If time travel were possible, would it mean that time is more like a dimension we can navigate instead of just this linear progression that we're stuck on?
Okay.
Does it imply that the past, present, and future all exist simultaneously somehow?
Whoa. That makes me think of all those sci-fi movies about alternate timelines and parallel universes. Are those something we should be seriously considering? If time travel is actually a possibility?
It's definitely worth exploring. If you could travel back in time and change something, would you be creating a whole new timeline, branching off from the original? Or would you be altering the fabric of reality itself, affecting everyone and everything?
I'm starting to understand why philosophers get so obsessed with time travel. It's like opening Pandora's box full of existential questions.
Right, and then there's the question of free will. If we could change our past choices, does that mean our lives are predetermined? Or do we still have the power to shape our own destiny, even with the potential to rewrite history?
So time travel wouldn't be just about sightseeing in different eras. It would be about confronting some pretty deep, potentially unsettling truths about ourselves.
Absolutely. And it wouldn't just be about personal choices either. Think about the ethical implications of time travel on a larger scale. Who would get to decide what changes could be made to the past? What if someone went back and tried to prevent a war, but ended up causing something even worse?
It feels like the potential consequences would be huge for individuals and for all of humanity.
A lot to consider. Which is why I think these hypothetical discussions about time travel are so valuable, even if we never actually build a working time machine.
Yeah, it's like time travel is this thought experiment that helps us understand our place in the universe a little better.
Exactly. And on that note, it's interesting to think about how time travel has been used in science fiction.
Yeah.
It's not always about scientific accuracy or philosophical debates, but it can give us some really insightful reflections on how we relate to time and how the choices we make can have a big impact.
Yeah, some of my favorite movies and books use time travel in really creative ways.
Right.
Like Back to the Future, where Marty McFly accidentally changes his own existence by messing with the past.
Right. That's a great example of how time travel stories can explore unintended consequences.
Yeah, like the butterfly effect.
Exactly. Even small changes to the past can create a totally different future.
And sometimes it's not even about changing big historical events. It's more about personal growth. Like in Groundhog Day.
Oh, I love Groundhog Day.
Yeah, he's stuck reliving the same day over and over again until he learns these valuable life lessons.
It's a great metaphor for personal growth. He's trapped in this time loop, but it gives him a chance to reflect on his choices and become a better person.
Yeah, it's like time travel gives us a way to examine our lives from a different perspective, to see how our actions affect things,
Right.
and maybe even try to fix past mistakes.
And then you have those time travel stories that really go to some dark places,
Yeah.
exploring themes of regret, loss, and the dangers of messing with time, like 12 Monkeys or Donnie Darko.
Those are the movies that stick with you.
Yeah, they make you think about the fragility of reality.
The complexity of time.
Right. And they often tap into our deepest anxieties about time, the fear of making the wrong choices, the desire to change the past, the uncertainty of the future.
It seems like even fictional time travel makes us confront those existential questions that we usually try to avoid.
Absolutely. And by exploring those questions through storytelling, I think we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the universe.
Okay, so we've talked about the science, the philosophy, and the pop culture side of time travel.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else about this topic that really stands out to you?
Well, one thing that always blows my mind is just how many different ways time travel has been used in fiction.
Yeah.
It can be funny, thought-provoking.
Yeah.
It can be a way to explore alternate histories and imagine what the future might hold.
Right. We have Everything from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure to The Handmaid's Tale.
Exactly. And each of those stories offers a different perspective on how time travel could affect our lives, our relationships, even the course of history.
It's like time travel itself is this blank canvas,
Yeah.
and every storyteller gets to paint their own vision of what it means for humanity.
That's part of what makes it so compelling. It lets us explore all these different possibilities,
Right.
to challenge our ideas about reality, and to really grapple with some of the biggest questions about existence.
It feels like we've only just scratched the surface of this topic.
I know, right? There's so much more to explore.
But for now, I think it's time to shift gears one more time and dive into what might be the most mind-blowing part of all: the potential for time travel to actually become a reality.
Here we go.
Let's talk about the cutting-edge science and the wildest theories about how we might actually achieve the impossible and unlock the secrets of time travel. All right, so we've gone pretty deep on this time travel deep dive. We've looked at the science, the paradoxes, the philosophy, the pop culture. But the big question still remains: is time travel actually possible, or is it going to stay stuck in the realm of science fiction?
After going through all this, it really seems like the universe is full of surprises. I mean, things we thought were impossible 100 years ago are totally normal now, so who knows what the future holds. Maybe time travel is not so far-fetched after all.
I like that optimistic outlook. So,
Yeah.
are there any areas of research right now that give us like a glimmer of hope for actual time travel?
Well, remember those wormholes we talked about? Those theoretical tunnels through space-time could be a way to connect different points in time. Some physicists think if we could figure out how to manipulate those, we might be able to use them as shortcuts for time travel.
Okay, so wormholes, time travel highways. But are wormholes even real, or are they just a concept in math equations?
That's the million-dollar question.
Hmm.
Right now, they're purely theoretical. We haven't actually seen one yet. But based on what we know about Einstein's theory of general relativity, some physicists believe they could exist. But even if they do, figuring out how to create them, stabilize them, and then actually use them, that's a whole other challenge.
So wormholes are a long shot. What about other approaches? I've heard some scientists think quantum mechanics might hold the key to time travel.
Quantum mechanics. Yeah, that's another exciting area. It's all about the super tiny, the world of atoms and subatomic particles. And it's full of these mind-bending ideas that could potentially allow for some forms of time travel, at least on a microscopic level.
Okay, give me an example. I'm having trouble picturing how quantum mechanics could lead to time travel.
Well, one concept that's gotten a lot of attention is quantum entanglement. It's this weird thing where two particles get linked together in a way that lets them influence each other instantly, even if they're super far apart.
So they're connected across space and time.
Kinda, yeah. And some scientists are wondering if we could use that connection, the power of entanglement, to maybe send information or even objects back in time.
That sounds like pure science fiction.
It is pretty wild.
Yeah.
But we're still just starting to understand quantum mechanics, let alone how to use it for something as complicated as time travel.
No time traveling DeLoreans anytime soon then.
Probably not. But hey, never say never. Who knows what amazing discoveries are waiting for us?
You're right. It seems like the more we learn about the universe, the more we realize how much we don't know.
Exactly.
But even if time travel never actually happens, I think exploring this topic has been super insightful.
I agree. It's made us think about some crazy paradoxes,
Right.
grapple with some really deep questions about philosophy, and even re-examine what we thought we knew about time and reality.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. And even if we never step into a time machine, just thinking about time travel has helped us understand the universe a little bit better, and maybe even our place in it.
It's definitely made me appreciate the present moment more. It's the only time we can actually experience and make a difference in.
That's a great takeaway. So to everyone listening, keep those time travel dreams alive. Keep exploring. Keep questioning. And keep imagining.
Who knows, maybe someday, what seems like science fiction now will become the science of the future.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into time travel.
It's been a blast
See you next time.
on the Deep Dive.